Since March, over 700,000 people have lost their jobs. Our economy has shrunk by 10%, the largest fall in over 300 years. Our borrowing is the highest it has been outside of wartime.
It was a bleak message as the Chancellor began to unveil his budget for the next year as the UK begins its journey out of the coronavirus pandemic. Rishi Sunak was hopeful as the Office for Budget Responsibility has predicted that the economy will bounce back sooner rather than later.
Office for Budget Responsibility are now forecasting, in their words, a swifter and more sustained recovery than they expected in November. The OBR now expect the economy to return to its pre-COVID level by the middle of next year, 6 months earlier than previously thought.
However, Michael Ben Gad, Professor of Economics at City University of London, still has concerns about the UK debt and the rate of borrowing.
Every 1% rise in the interest rate on sovereign debt means about £25 billion of cost to the Treasury. Right now, interest rates are indeed very, very low, but there's no guarantee that that will continue. If anything, there's every expectation that the savings glut that has driven these low interest rates may start to disappear.
Workers will see the national living wage increase from April, and the tax-free personal allowance will be frozen at £12,570 until 2026. Elsewhere, those on the furlough scheme will continue to get 80% of their salary until the end of September, and those on universal credit will continue to get a weekly uplift that's been supported through the pandemic. For households, the Chancellor also announced a freeze on stamp duty and a new 95% mortgage for those who are struggling to save up for a deposit, echoing the Prime Minister, hoping to turn Generation Rent into Generation Buy.
So I'm announcing today a new policy to stand behind home buyers, a mortgage guarantee. Lenders who provide mortgages to home buyers who can only afford a 5% deposit will benefit from a government guarantee on those mortgages. A policy that gives people who can't afford a big deposit the chance to buy their own home.
Professor Ben Gad doesn't believe the stamp duty is the right way forward, while warning that the 95% mortgages will only serve to drive up house prices.
Right, the UK has a housing shortage. It also has issues of mobility. The stamp duty, it's not that one shouldn't tax housing, but one could, in fact, just tax annually the value of a house and do it that way. That would raise significant revenue without, in effect, punishing people for being mobile. Right. Again, the same thing with the guaranteed mortgages. The UK is guaranteeing so many different loans. A lot of those liabilities may not really be repaid, and that's going to go on to the national debt. And again, at the same time, what it's doing is it's driving up the cost of housing. What's needed is more supply, and more supply by changing all the regulations around building.
For businesses, they saw the Chancellor announce corporation tax will rise from 19% to 25% in April 2023, something that Mr. Sunak says will likely only impact the largest of companies. But Professor Michael Ben Gad is not convinced it will raise significant revenues for the Treasury.
Corporation tax happens to be a very bad tax. It happens to be a very inefficient tax for raising revenues. My prediction is that this particular rise in taxation will really not raise more than a few £100 million, right? All the billions that everybody is predicting to come from this, that will not actually materialize.